happy to have you here with us, that is for sure. So today we're talking about circles of compassion. And there's a practice in the Buddhist tradition where you look at starting with compassion and then expanding it outward, if you will, in these concentric circles. And that we all kind of know that we need to be good and kind to each other, and such. But that is not often the reality in the truth of it. So often, it's so easy for us to judge others. And it's so easy for us to feel judged by others. And sometimes those are, you might call, old habits of mind that just seem to kind of creep in sometimes, Imagine driving in your car and the person in front of you is driving really slow and you're becoming irritated and you're thinking all those very creative thoughts that you would like to share with that person, And it just happens automatically sometimes, and we're not even aware of it. And you get into those habits of mind, and sometimes it's surprising how pervasive that they can kind of be. And so how do we get to a place where we can actually listen and be open to others in a way that is not so judgmental, okay? And when I say judgmental, I don't mean like we are bad people judging others. I'm just talking about the simple habits of mind that we have when we listen to things that push our buttons, if you will. Throughout the ages, probably the greatest gift, I think, maybe that we've been given through all the major religions is that act of loving kindness and of making that a very dynamic part of your life. And as you practice your spiritual practices, your meditation practices, and on and so forth. And sometimes that thought is there with all of us, but the practice is the challenge, right? In the Buddhist tradition, you might say that first circle that you start with is compassion for yourself, or loving kindness for yourself. And in some ways, that's the hardest circle to step into, to actually truly be able to be honest with you, right? To see our faults, our strengths, but to be truly honest and to kind of see through all of the faces that we have, and to see all of that and to embrace that and to not judge it. And it's when that happens, when you have that little breakthrough moment, when you actually experience that firsthand, it can be a pretty big eye-opener, because I think, unfortunately, all too many of us have been given messages very early on in life that were a little not accurate. And we've held on to those messages, and we act that way because that's what we believe ourselves to be. And I think that in meditation, it gives us maybe the opportunity to step out of that habituated mind, right? And to maybe begin to see things in slightly a newer light. And so each time we sit down to meditate, we offer the opportunity, I think, for ourselves to maybe expand that compassion, expand that awareness that we have, not only for ourselves, but maybe actually for others. I would say, too, that it's great thinking nice thoughts about others. That's a good thing. We should always try to think good things about others, what have you. In the meditative practice, to actually feel that act of compassion reaching out to that other person, to have that sensual, visceral feeling of not judging, of embracing, of holding, and standing by that person in their most irritating state that they might have at times, or whatever it might be, is truly something to experience. You know, I like to think good thoughts about, let's say, all my family members, but sometimes it's kind of hard to do because we're family. We naturally are going to have our moments, right, where we kind of cross. But to step back and to actually feel compassion reaching out to them. And I find sometimes that I have to work at that more than other times with the folks in my life. And the best tool that I have has always been to practice that in meditation. It seems like when I do that, it becomes very real to me. It's not just a thought I'm having, it is an experience that I'm reaching out and sharing with that other person in my own way, and doing that. And then perhaps I feel a little bit more tolerant and understanding of those around me, you know. So today's meditation, as in a lot of our meditations, in all honesty, is a meditation based on opening the heart. And that when we open the heart a little bit, maybe we get to experience that natural state of flow, that compassionate flow, that outreach that's happening. And there's a Buddhist practice where you're breathing out and breathing in compassion, and it becomes a circular sort of experience. And when we do that, I tend to think, and sometimes I feel, that it's like opening this door a little bit. And I'd like to think that door is open all the time, but the reality is some days more than other days, right? It's just all of us, just how it works. But when we sit down and consciously focus on expressing and being part of that cycle of compassion, then this door really does start to feel that it is opening up somewhat, okay? And it's just to say, this is, how to say it, at times that I feel anxious, worried, and on and so forth. This exercise has always been really good in settling me down and maybe seeing the things around me in a slightly different light. So that's what we're going to shoot for today, is trying to see the people in our lives and situations in a slightly different light. So, all right, today, if you're sitting in a chair like I am, or if you're on the cushion, it's just sitting straight, being attentive a little bit. And as always, when we sit down to meditate, perhaps we start to slow our breathing down a little bit, and perhaps we start taking a couple of deep breaths. And when we do that, we bring awareness to our body. We become aware of our physical self. And perhaps when we do that, we can begin to feel things maybe loosening up a little bit. So let's give that a try and we'll get started. Take in a slow, long, deep breath. Gently let it out. And sometimes this is like the first cleansing breath of the day. Just imagine that. Breathing in the fresh air and breathing all that stuff out. And for a minute or two, that's what we're going to focus on, is just breathing in. Imagine breathing in pure, clean, fresh air. And breathing out all that stuff that we carry. Now I shift my attention to my chest, and I breathe in that compassion that surrounds me. And I breathe out that compassion that is within me. When I breathe in that compassion, which is something greater than myself. And when I breathe out that compassion to those that I know, those that are in need, to those that suffer, to those that are in our lives. I breathe compassion to each of them through my heart. I clearly see these people in front of me, one by one, as I breathe out. With each breath, I try to open my heart wider and wider to that process of compassion. Let's take a deep breath in. Bring our awareness to the chair we're on, the cushion we're on, to the room we're in. And as we open our eyes, perhaps we still feel this process of compassion breathing in and out of us. So I hope that this meditation was of some benefit. I think sometimes when we have a meditation that particularly touches us, then perhaps we should attempt to hold it gently in the next several minutes afterwards as we go about our stuff, whatever we have to do around the house, at work, out in the community. We just hold that meditation gently. Kind of think of it as being in the back of your mind a little bit, and just kind of letting it find its way into its own natural expression in your life, in a sense. And so some meditations really seem to be very moving. I think others are kind of like house cleaning. We do it because we need to keep the house clean, right? Which is good. And then I think that we have some that we should pay particular attention to and be a little bit more mindful of what they have brought to us, in a sense. So if today's meditation did that for you, and you want to practice it a little bit, then consider this. Maybe next time before you go to the grocery store, sit down for just maybe a couple of minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and just do this simple exercise, and then gently hold on to it as you go to the grocery store. Anything that we can do to integrate that meditative mind and our day-to-day mind is a good practice to do, so it's not a bad thing, All right, I hope that you have a good day today and things go well in your life, and I hope that if you run into adversity, that you can take that breath, be in that moment, be wide open to the lessons that are there, and become the wiser for it, and then share that wisdom with the rest of us. All right, take care, guys. We will see you next time around. Thanks. Bye.